Hi, my name is Francis Vallejo, and I am the illustrator for Jazz Day with author Roxane Orgill. When I was about 5, I remember it was before kindergarten, I had my Uncle Brian come up to me and he said, you know, like many adults are to do, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a comic book artist. And I was so young, right? And he was sort of taken back because he thought I would say doctor, lawyer, any of these other things, fireman. He's like, really? I was like, well, that's great. That's great. It's because my father introduced me to reading through Superman comics. So I don't know if there was a specific moment. I think I was probably drawing before I even had memories stuck. So forever, probably coloring books. One would be the process that I went through to create the artwork. One of my heroes is Norman Rockwell, and he always advocated going to where it took place. So I actually, a year and a half ago, was the last time I was actually here, I went to New York to Harlem and photographed and interviewed people. And then that led me to photographing more people for reference, a la Norman Rockwell. Going in depth with creating three-dimensional models, having secondary photo shoots, and a number of different studies. And it was almost overkill, but as an artist, when I worked on the finals, I felt a lot of satisfaction in that I had done as much research as I needed to, so that when I was on the final, all my problems were solved and I can just work on the actual mark making. This is the most extensive preparation I've done for anything almost in my life. And I think it paid off, so I'm pretty proud of that. And the second thing that I was most proud of, and this goes to a conversation I just had with my editor, is little did she know when she hired me I hadn't done color for about 6 years. So everyone was curious on how the final art would turn out, as was I. And I think it did turn out pretty well. I was nervous if it would look very boring, I suppose. As far as the color, really straightforward, but I was able to get some experimentation and vibrancy that I'm pleased with, so it worked out. The perfect reader for this book would probably be especially someone that likes music, which I think are most people. So if I do say so, I think there's a wide range of folks that'll enjoy it. There's also someone that really likes the historical aspect of things. The whole team involved did a lot of research to recreate 1958 Harlem. They might be into it. And as far as just entertainment, for the age range of the book, I think, you know, younger to older children are gonna dig it. But there was a lot of talk that I genuinely do think adults are going to like it as well, because those that lived through the 50s and 60s jazz, they're gonna be parents now probably, and you know, they have a connection to that, and I think they're going to get a kick out of seeing all that culture illustrated. The best piece of advice is simple, but it was given by my father, and it was given to him by his father or my grandpa when they said, if you're going to do something, you better do it right. When I was a little guy, I just assumed every father told their kid that, and maybe they do. And I thought, oh, Dad. But as a grown-up, I think, it's important, because there was many times in this book where I maybe wanted to have cut corners. And as I mentioned in an earlier question, I'm proud of the process I went through. And I think that resulted in a quality product. Like if the photo wasn't just right, you know, just bring them back, you know, make it a pleasant experience and get just that right photo. And obviously outside of art, that you can see the benefit of that philosophy. So like most things, its beauty lies in its simplicity. Before you begin your finals, you do a test piece. I was nervous. I did a lot of process work, so I spent a while on the test piece, and when I click send on that email, there's a lot of, waiting for that response. And within reason, normally the folks working on my book, the editors, they'll give like a day or two, which I expect. But within a couple hours, I got a very enthusiastic emails with a lot of exclamation points. Like 2 exclamation points are good, but when you get like 10, you know that something good is happening. And for me, at that point, I've been working on the book about a year. So to get that response to the final art for the first time was excellent. That gave me a lot of enthusiasm to go into the final. I think the amount of time put into literally this one image might be around touching 50, 60 hours. A lot of it in the final, because the copy, or the prose, says that you can see the girl in the window all bored, that all these people are taking up her block when she wants to be playing, and it says she can see the top of their heads. So as someone that's to illustrate this scene, I had to show an angle from the side profile and also capture the top of people's heads. And that caused a lot of problems. I went to Harlem and photographed, but I didn't have anyone that would fit the angle. So it was helpful that earlier in the process I went crazy and had the idea that I could build the whole entire scene in 3D in a program called Maya, which a former student started to build it. He built it, the simple geometry, and I finished it. So what eventually I figured out was I can use a fisheye lens from the digital camera in Maya to assist in figuring out the angle of this. So I was able to literally hit an angle like this, and then it sort of warps like that, so you can see the top of their head. I never had done anything like that, and it took a while. Also, the angle of the people, as you can tell, the angle of this guy's basically profile, but there's a gradual shift to seeing the top of their heads here. That's from a draftsmanship perspective. That was pretty tricky. There's a lot of erasing. And at one point I had a bigger crowd, and then I worked with the editor. They chopped it down, added some, chopped it down. And then I got to the final. That was all the early stuff. I think this is one of the best things I've ever done. It captures some color and some realism, but with some stylization, which is happening in her dress here that I'm pleased with. This barrette in her hair, I used pastel, and there was a lot of build-up here, so it was the last thing I did. And I grabbed my pencil and I just smushed it in there as hard as possible so that it would actually lay on the surface. And whenever I get a response, there's a good response to that as far as its 3-dimensional quality. And I did that at the end, and it's scary, right? Because you can mess up the whole area, but it ended up turning out pretty well. So that is the journey of this piece, and I hope the reader enjoys it as much as I did making it.